right. Well, welcome back. This is my first one with Joel Farrell for 2024. And he's from Strive for 25, Fairway Mortgage. And today we're going to talk about, I don't know, investor loans, I think is his topic he wanted to talk about today. So welcome back, Joel.
Thanks, Mark. Happy New Year. Happy New
Yeah,
Year.
Happy New Year, man. Maybe your New Year's goal is to be on time because you're on time today.
Yes. Let everybody take note of that.
Yep, I was shocked.
We'll see what happens as the year progresses.
All right, so what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, I mean, the the stuff that's coming through my desk from a lending standpoint, it's never been more complex and just crazy uh, than ever before. And I've been in the business since '06, so the stuff that's coming through, just super crazy, complicated types of situations. And the reason I bring it up is that from the type of people that are doing things in this environment where prices are high, rates are high, inventory is low, demand has come down as affordability has shrunk. The people that I'm seeing do things that are coming through my desk per se are really kind of three different scenarios. One is a first time home buyer. Two is an investor. People out there looking for deals. A lot of out of state investors, like which you and I are, kind of in that group ourselves. And then the middle group is people that have to do something like a divorce or downsizing or something, having life situation that's changing, making somebody do something. And there really isn't a whole lot in between. People aren't saying, "Hey, you know what? I have a need for more space, so I'm going to give up my 3% rate and then buy a bigger house, and my payment's going to be triple." There's not a whole lot of that going on. And so a lot of the people that I'm seeing do stuff are doing so either because they have to or investment property stuff. And so a lot of stuff is just very, very complex. And to give you an example, I know somebody that's got some acreage, in the metro area of a major city, and it's a manufactured house with some horses and stables on it. And they want to buy in a different state and they want to be able to do a quote unquote a bridge loan. But certain states have requirements and certain places they don't let you do those kinds of loans. Um, And so a bridge loan is not possible. And then, okay, well, can I go get a cash out loan or an investor loan on the manufactured house? Well, manufactured houses in the investor lending world are a big hurdle to overcome. Now, you buy it as a primary residence, there's options. But to buy it as an investment property, not a lot of options. So conventional loans, you can't do an investment property on manufactured houses. On investor loans, most don't want to touch it either. And then you start throwing in like acreage and a little bit of rural. Nobody wants to touch it. So I'm working with somebody we're trying to figure out the way to get this deal done, because really she's got a couple different properties, departure residence, ratios. She wants to sell it, free up the cash to be able to buy the new one, but we're trying to be able to do it without selling. So like that's just one example of a lot of different moving parts. And that's just a microcosm of a lot of different things that I'm seeing come through. So I kind of want to just talk through some of the different lending tools and options that are out there, just to give an idea of the stuff that's out there, because there's a lot of different products out there. Not everybody can do all of them. There's different things that I want to be able to kind of just share out there because, so Mark, right now, right? Like for your situation, you've done a HELOC on a primary residence in the past, pulled cash out to be able to purchase another property, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that same property, I think you since sold it, but do you have the HELOC that you're trying to do right now? Is it primary or a rental property?
Primary.
Okay. So then to take that the next step further, let's say somebody wants to get a HELOC on an investment property. Most companies don't do them, but there are a few that do. And I have some people doing them right now. And unfortunately, the rates are not good. Prime's at 8.5. And we're talking like prime plus 4, prime plus 5, that kind of range. So rates are in the 13s.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tool that's out there, whether somebody wants to be able to use that tool. But for some, it's good to know that it's available. I have one client right now who, their scores aren't where they want them to be. They're a business owner trying to buy a property. Tax returns, have a lot of expenses. And so they can't qualify for a traditional loan. And so there's a couple different tools that they can do. One is a bank statement loan. And then again, there's a plenty of products out there that are like that. And companies that do them, and they go through different channels, and they're not saleable on like the traditional Fannie and Freddie market. So the rates are going to be higher than your traditional loans. But they're looking at consistent income and consistent cash flow. And for this person, the consistency in the bank statements and all the numbers just weren't really aligning to be able to make the deal work on a bank statement loan from just the cash flow coming in. However, there's another product within that same subset that's more of an asset depletion type of product. And they had well enough of cash type of securities to cover the loan amount, which would say it's purchase price less than 200K, to where they can qualify for the loan just by showing the assets on paper. And then the rates are like in the 7s and 9s, depending on the details. And then at that point, you show the bank statement, and it's super easy, get an appraisal, et cetera, and then, get down to the back. So those are just a couple quick examples. I'm going to stop right there and see if you have any questions or thoughts so far.
Well, I guess my thing is, are these like all new products coming to the market?
No.
So yeah, so that was my thought because like even for like on the buy side, everyone's getting into trying to get into creative finance and sub two deals, and all of these things were always available. They were always around. It's just there was not much of a need for it when rates were so low or reasonable that people weren't looking for these opportunities. But now people are trying to find different ways to acquire properties. So these type of loan products that you're discussing right now, so they've always been available. It's not like people are coming up with newer products. They're just products that people weren't accessing very much before. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you may talk to one company and they have a certain few products, and then somebody else may have a completely different product and a completely different product. Because then you have, like, I work for Fairway Mortgage, right? We're a mortgage company. We've got a whole broker side of things where we can do these alternative products. And then you got a whole different lane of stuff that's out there, like your true private money, hard money stuff, which I think you're familiar with, where your fix and flips or your 6 month type of time frame to be able to, or 12 months to get a deal done, where you're that value added type of scenario. And then after that property's fixed up, then you go get a traditional type of investor loan, which is DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. And then you have a whole nother kind of umbrella of different variables and tools and products that go into that. And one of the biggest struggles for a lot of these products right now is the debt service coverage ratio. The ratio meaning, okay, the rents versus the payment, with rates being high and prices high, it's hard to make a deal cash flow. And so if you're not over the 1% level, then there's limits on what you can do. And even obviously it hits to the rate. There are products that allow you to do it with your below one. Um, and then, okay, well, if you're doing a deal, it's a value add, and most people want to also try to pull cash out, especially if they've had it for a while, and that adds extra wrinkles as well. But that type of deal, your fix and flip is going to be a different entity than what would be for somebody who's going to be going through your normal mortgage channels. And then to take it another step further, you may have somebody that's more experienced, and like I would say the kind of the holy grail of investment property lending, commercial lending, is the line of credit. Like, there's a local bank that I work with here in St. Louis, that as we kind of built our portfolio, showed our reputation, then we were able to take a banking product that was one line of credit across 3 different properties, and be able to use it when we need to, pay it off, buy the next property, and then put a loan on that one, and then pay down the original line, and be able to kind of build the portfolio through a line of credit. And that type of stuff is really, from what I've seen, only really available for mostly on your commercial banking side of things. They have that true revolving line of credit, where most of these other tools that are out there are going to be really more one by one, or you can cross collateralize, and it's like a 30-year fixed, or interest only on just one loan across multiple properties. And then there's other details that go into it too, because minimum loan amounts go into it too. A lot of these scenarios have $100,000 minimum loan amounts on these cross collateral types of loans. Kind of going back to the line of credit across properties and with the commercial bank. Like this bank, again, there's probably others out there that are maybe different, but like that was a 1 year type of instrument. So with rates changing over, fast over the last couple of years, that's a product where the rates have changed, for me personally, higher, and things are resetting and higher payments and things like that. So that's also, there's always kind of the other side of the coin potentially for the types of products that you use. And, the more you know about the different tools that are out there, the more nimble you can potentially be of trying to find the right deal. And then you start talking about seller financing, right? That means then if you do a loan with a traditional commercial lender or a private money company or hard money, if there's a seller carry, then they have to be okay with that second lien, the second note, which is another wrinkle to be aware. So like navigating these waters, you know, finance is a new kind of, you know, language, or the language of the rich, right? Knowing finance and knowing how to navigate the waters is just so can be so powerful if you know how to use it.
Well, yeah, I think, that always just comes back to just how many tools you have in the toolbox, right? So it's one of those things where, like you're saying, these products are always available, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. And they said, I never realized that there's this whole lending world out there. And, like I said, I thought you just go around to, your neighborhood bank and you go get your mortgage, and that's how you buy a home. And I didn't realize that there's all these other products out there. And I think that's what people have to realize is, you know, you can find a great lender like yourself to work with, and but there's always going to be different ones that may have a little different wrinkles in their products. So it's always good to be talking to other people, just to see other brokers or other lenders, to see what products they might have or what they can offer you. But I think at the end of the day, it's working with someone that you trust and that can provide you with different kind of scenarios on how to work through situations, because not every property, not every situation is going to be the same. So you know
Yeah.
your so your lender got to be available to kind of give you different scenarios on, because there's not one product that's probably going to work, right? I mean, there might be multiple with a little different wrinkles in each of them, so you got to figure out what's going to be best for you, and that's where we're working with a lender that you trust and that you can communicate with, and that's open to discussing things, and not kind of just like maybe, hey, send me your documents, and then he shoots you an email and this is it. But someone that you can get on the phone and talk to different scenarios. I think that's kind of the important part of everything.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, like it's like literally today, I had a conversation with an old client of mine, looking to do some complex stuff, but he's also got some sizable amount of portfolio with a major bank, and you know, looking at different options. Like, okay, well, you can go to the private bank and do something on their portfolio. They've got all your information already, and because it's on their portfolio, they can do whatever they want to do in terms of rates. And looking at the comparison, yeah, you should probably do that. Right? It's pretty decent difference in terms of the end rates and fees and products and system and process. Like there's all kinds of different tools out there, and like you said, having conversations with various people is always powerful to know what's out there.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is just talking to people, because someone might see your blind spot, right? And they might just present this whole different scenario, and you're like, man, I didn't even think about that. And I think that's what it is, right? It's just talking to different people, and everyone has a different view, and they may be, you know, 5 steps ahead in the journey than you are, and they've been through it, and they may have an experience where they can share with you and say, hey, I was thinking the exact same way you were thinking right now, and this is how it turned out for me. And if I was to do it again, I would do certain things different. And I think that's where, connecting with people, and that's where it's super helpful, is just picking other people's brains on different scenarios. And it's just like your lender, right? Like I was saying, just you want a lender that you can reach out to and communicate with. And even if they forget about meetings and show up late, as long as you can get them on the phone and talk to them, and
If they
that's
don't
super
respond by
important.
the 10th text message, then you got a problem.
Yeah, or when I'm having to remind them about meetings that they have scheduled, then that might be a red flag. But
All
good
the
thing
time.
you're yes. So if anyone didn't catch that, I had to remind Joel of a meeting with my friend that Joe is trying to schedule a call with me, and I'm like, don't you have a meeting with my friend at that time? But yeah, I knew you were playing, right? You knew you had a meeting.
I mean, when you're on the road versus being in front of your computer, you gotta act swiftly sometimes.
No, yeah, but he had nice things to say about you. He said, yeah,
No way. That's
yeah,
all.
I
That's always
tried
good
to
to
like
hear.
tell him, watch out for that guy, but
Hmm.
he he had nice things to
Set the
say.
expectations so low
Oh
that
yeah,
there's
I
only
do,
one
I
way to
do.
go.
I set it very low for you.
Well
But
played.
yeah,
Well
so I
played.
mean, so what do you see though? Do you think that, because affordability, I mean, everyone agrees, no matter whether you think prices are going to go up, whether you think prices are going to crash, everyone pretty much agrees that housing is unaffordable right now, from all whatever angle you look at it. So what do you think? Do you ever see maybe a standardized 40-year mortgage being available? I mean, I know it's
I hope
available
not.
for some. Okay, well, okay, you hope not, but do you think, because I mean, as we know now, they don't always make the best decisions, right? They make something that looks great or sounds great, but when you actually unravel it's probably going to be worst case scenario, right? So, but do you think that's something that's on the table?
I mean, there's definitely been talks about it for sure. I've seen it in the headlines, and I don't know what the latest is for the reality of that happening. Um, but I think it's a band-aid. It doesn't fix the problem. The problem is other things, and it has to do with, like, for example, you got Tesla, right? Like, it wasn't until I think like 2019 until they actually turned a profit. Like, so they were in business for however many years, and they turned a profit in whatever year it was, 19 maybe. And still at that time, the massive profits that they had were also because of the massive tax credits that they were getting from the government. And again, don't quote me on that. I could be completely wrong on that. Um, and I think those tax credits are now coming to an end sometime soon. I don't know the details. But so, like, okay, the government sees a problem. They want to be able to attack and fix a problem with more green friendly programs. Well, we have a problem with housing. So if you want to fix the problem, one thing that they could do is incentivize builders in some type of way that makes sense to build more houses. Because the biggest hurdle is obviously it's the cost to do so, the labor costs, the cost of materials, but it's not only that, it's dealing with the municipalities, dealing with all the red tape and all the other BS that goes into it. And, frankly, if they really wanted to attack the problem, to do so. That would be one example. Something they could do is try to incentivize builders to do so. So maybe it's tax credits, maybe it's something else. I don't know what it would be, but just pure supply and demand would be one example.
Okay, well, on that point, talking about builders and supply and demand, and I don't, like I said, I don't want to get all political and whatnot, but obviously, red states are probably going to be more favorable for building and for builders to acquire permits and like you're saying, maybe less red tape. So, like Grant Cardone talks about, he actually likes to invest in blue states in a sense because they restrict building. So if you can acquire real estate in these areas, right, the state itself is going to limit building and whatnot. So for him, he kind of looks at it where they're limiting his competition and he has better access to profiting from those markets. So I don't know, that was interesting when I heard him talk about that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
But what's interesting about that too is that, like, certain states have rent control measures too. So it's like even if you buy something and you want to put money in to fix it up and raise rents, like, you can't even do it because there's restrictions. So I mean, again, that's above my pay grade, but, like, yeah, there's always kind of different sides of the coin you can look at on that. But
Yeah. Well, but
um,
the rent control is interesting too because it's almost guaranteed rent though, right? Like you have to raise your rent in a sense to meet these requirements, right? So because there's a lot of times I know landlords that don't typically raise their rent when they have a good tenant because they don't want to lose the tenant. And what is the purpose? They don't want to raise it a few, $50 maybe, because they have this consistency of this good tenant who's taking care of the property and no headaches, whatnot. But now if you put in, rent control, these landlords are like, oh, I have to raise my rent basically to meet whatever the requirements are going to be. So yeah, it's a tricky situation.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know, we when I'm talking to somebody, say I'm talking to you about purchasing property, right? You live in Hawaii where the home prices are what the median price is $1 million, right? Something
Yes,
like that.
roughly. Yeah.
California is going to be pretty similar if you're in LA, San Francisco, San Diego a little lower. So you have much higher prices. Now, then it's like, okay, well, you could go buy a property in Gary, Indiana, Toledo, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, Indianapolis. Like the Midwest is this whole corridor where the median home prices are way lower. And okay, so if you don't have the ability to purchase real estate in your hometown, well, do you just pick up your entire life and move to a different place and just start over? And that's I'm literally seeing some people do that and people are thinking about doing that. And not saying that there's going to be a huge number of that, but that's some of the conversations that I'm personally seeing as people are starting to see the financial firefighters show and see the people investing in real estate and building portfolios. So now they're taking after uh, your leadership and kind of your blazing trail and wanting to do some of the things that what you're doing. So yeah, I mean, more people are getting creative on trying to find opportunities.
Well, I think
Plus, your show is awesome.
I think the biggest thing is just realizing that there is places that are affordable. And I think that's like for me was super eye opening when I first got started. Because even if yeah, Hawaii is super expensive, $1 million median single family home. But same thing, the West Coast is close to us. So you look at California, Seattle. So you still see prices that are high. So for me, I think I just didn't realize what was out there. And I just, you just think of like Florida, you think, so you're thinking like, oh, everywhere is fairly expensive. Housing is expensive. And you just don't realize what opportunities are out there. And so you start looking into it. And I think that's the number one thing is if you're kind of in this bubble and you're not paying attention, you just don't realize what's out there. And that's kind of where you fall into this trap of complacency and maybe like you say, maybe you just don't ever think you're going to own anything. So you just start spending your money on all different things and traveling and enjoying when yeah, you can still enjoy those things, but put some aside to start a rental portfolio, whether it be out of state or remotely. But I think yeah, like for me, I just didn't see it. Like I knew Hawaii was expensive, but I just thought housing in general for most places is going to be expensive, and I just was super blown away when I saw, you know, Pittsburgh, Ohio, Gary, Indiana, different places where you can buy homes for like $75,000, and I was just shocked and amazed. So I think that's the number one thing, and that's why being around other people that are doing it is just super helpful.
Yeah, it kind of got into a weeds question. You know, I was
A,
having a conversation.
what a weed or weeds?
Getting into the weeds question.
Oh, like
A weed
weeds,
question. Yeah.
like REI Stoner weeds or something.
Right. Yeah. Where's Josh at? Josh, can you phone a friend? Bring anyway. Um. Okay. Let's say you want to buy a property for 150K, right?
Okay.
Or buy two of them for 75K. Again,
Okay.
every single city area scenario is going to be different, but like in the areas where you invest or close to, like how do you what are some of the things that you're looking at for yourself to analyze the pros and the cons?
Well, I think the biggest thing is what kind of team you have in place and what's your, I guess, relationship with leverage or being having debt. I think that's the biggest thing. So I think you can make lower price point properties work that cash flow a lot more if you have the right team in place. Like if you have a good property management company, handyman, all those type of things, and great properties in the right areas. Yeah, they might be lower price point, but I think you can make those work. If you don't have the right team in place, I think those can be a lot of headaches. And I think that's where I kind of got scared off a little bit in the beginning, where some of these lower price point properties cash flow very well, but you kind of get fearful of the neighborhoods they might be in, or what headaches you might encounter. And so I did go at higher price point properties, which are solid and they do cash flow, but they don't cash flow as well as some other properties in a lower price point. But I think now that I've built way more relationships and different connections, I think I would be able to succeed very well with getting lower price point properties because I have a good team in place where, yeah, you might have some headaches, but I'm not going to deal with it a lot of the time, right? And I think that's the number one thing. And sometimes you get kind of scared off with the lower price point because you're thinking you're going to have more headaches. But I think it still comes down to the type of management that you have and whatnot. And then the same thing, it comes down to how much leverage or how much debt you want, I think. And that's everyone's different, right? I mean, there's no one way to do it. I mean, definitely, the less debt you have, the greater cash flow you're going to have, but it also might slow down you scaling your portfolio. So, it's just different ways to look at it. And there's no, like I said, I think the younger you are, maybe the more leverage you may want to be. I mean, if you want to grow quicker, you have more time to recover. But the older you get, maybe you want to take some risk off the table and kind of just, maybe you're not going to have a as big a portfolio as you envision, but your cash flow is going to be fine. And so I think that's really what it comes down to, is also just knowing who you are and how much work you want to make for yourself, right? The bigger portfolio you have, probably the more work you're going to have to do to manage it. Or even if you have to manage your managers, the more time for you. So it's also how much extra work you want to give yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. When you've got I call it it's a blank canvas, right? Like if you're in New York or California or Hawaii and you want to be able to try to figure out where you want to invest, like there's a bunch of different places to look at, and having, like you mentioned, boots on the ground is important. Um, is there any other places that you've been looking at right now that have piqued your interest that you want to learn more about, or what are your thoughts on that? I'm just other places besides Pittsburgh.
Not, I mean, I like the Carolinas, and I envision myself doing something down there at some point. I mean, I do like Allentown in Pennsylvania, but I tell people I think I have found my Yoda in Pittsburgh. Like I think that I have found, and I interviewed him on my channel, and I think he is, like I said, he is that grizzly veteran that's been doing it for 30 years, that he's a straight shooter, and he's gonna tell you, he's not gonna hold anything back. And I think that's kind of some of the
What does
mistakes.
he do?
He's a realtor. I mean, he's a broker,
Okay,
property manager. He's a yeah. So
so like somebody to help you find and uncover properties, essentially.
well, yeah. I mean, he has he pretty much has everything. He has his son-in-law's the contracting side. He has a management side. Acquiring properties, selling properties. But he's basically, his mindset too is he's the single family. That's his strength. And small multifamily stuff. But he's not into the bigger. Not he's not saying there's bad or anything, but that's just not his lane that he's going to be in, right? So he sticks to what he knows. And so I think that's um probably one of the mistakes I made in the beginning, was just I mean, I got solid properties. I mean, I did. They're, they cash flow and they're fine. It's just I think I wish that, you know, people would have been more blunt with me as far as the property itself is fine. Like the property, is great. It's a great, but there's little things, maybe nuances about the street or whatnot that play into it. And you know, like I said, it just, like for him, if I show him something that I have, he'll be like, yeah, we should get rid of this. I mean, yeah, the property itself is fine, but he's like, yeah, that road is like, there's no place to turn around. Like you pretty much are gonna have to back out every time. And yeah, it's a great place, but you're probably gonna have high turnover because after a certain, tenants are gonna be like, I'm tired of, I'm tired of doing this. If something better comes along, they'll probably vacate, right? So those are the type of things that like I said, you got to just find. Like I said, I think I found my Yoda in Pittsburgh, so that's kind of what I'm focused on right now. And he's pretty straight shooter with me and pretty blunt about you know, what mistakes I may have made and whatnot.
So you're saying that you interviewed them on your YouTube channel, so
Yeah,
other people can find them and try to poach them from
yeah.
you.
No, you reach out to me and I will connect you. No, but yeah, he has his own YouTube channel. His name is Alex Deacon of Deacon Hoover Real Estate Investors. But yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, he same thing. I feel like my journey is a lot like his. He's like he said, he's made tons of mistakes early in his journey, and he recovered and he's now, it's he's not saying it's easy, but he's saying that's why you find the right person, and everyone just learns off each other, and that's why, like, even for myself, I'm trying to help others stay away from the mistakes that I've made, right? Try to not do certain things that I did, and it's the same thing that hopefully whoever I help, they get someone started and they help them not make mistakes that they probably made, right? Because we all make mistakes, and even him, like the guy Alex, he said, whatever. I think he had a deal last year that he lost like 80K on, and part of it was his fault, he said, and part of it was just unfortunately, I forget, maybe it was the building inspector. The city got a new building inspector or something, anyways. And somehow in the deal he probably, it didn't appraise or whatever happened, but he ended up losing some money, and he said it comes with the business, but at this point in his career, he's able to weather something like that, right? Like he's like, okay, it's my mistake, and you move forward. But of course, early on in his journey, that would have destroyed him, right? Like that would have been just like devastating for him. But it's one of those things where now you just keep moving forward, and he's learned and he's avoided mistakes along the way, and now he is where he's at, and he's just trying to help others, and same thing. But yeah,
How
so
loud is that?
how what?
How loud is that?
How
Can you hear that?
loud?
Can you hear
Yeah,
the vacuum?
no,
You can't hear that in the background?
nope,
Oh, okay. That's good.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, no. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Just trying to clean up some things, and yeah, just clean up some things. And now I think, like I said, I think I found I tease him. Hey, he's like, yeah, I don't even know how old he is. I know he's older than me, but I'm old too, so I don't know exactly how old he is. But like I said, he's kind of like my Yoda, and um,
So
yeah.
if you're talking to somebody that, let's say they got some cash, they've got some 401k retirement reserves, and they're probably in a good situation to be able to kind of look at this type of strategy to diversify. What's your kind of roadmap for advising somebody? What's kind of like the process that you would advise somebody to go down to be ready?
Reach out to a lender or broker, and talk to them to just see how much they qualify for, and see what they're, because everyone thinks they're in a great position, or they think they can qualify for a certain amount, but at the end of the day they don't really know until they to talk with someone. And that's why, like, I sent some people to you to talk to, just because it's like, hey, he can help you get in a better position, depending on where they're at. And you don't really know your numbers until you actually look at them. So, definitely reach out to someone like yourself and get a better idea on what you may qualify for. And then, to me, like I tell people, I think the number one thing though is you have to know yourself. you know Not everyone can invest 5,000 miles away. I mean, some people, it could, everything could go flawlessly and you could have the greatest team, but being that far away from your property, you may not sleep well at night. I mean, that's just how some people are. And that's understandable, right? I mean, some people need to be near their properties, or need to be able to see it, or, touch it, or whatever. So you really got to just understand, yourself, and what's going to allow you to sleep well at night. So, like I tell people, some people are making money investing in Hawaii. People are doing it, so it can be done. Yeah, it may be a little bit of a challenge. It may be a slower process from a cash flow standpoint. You may be sitting on a property for like 5 years before it actually cash flows from you, but you're probably going to build up a great amount of equity. But it might be right down the road from you, right? And you might, like I said, it might make you more comfortable that it's right there. So I think that's the number one thing. And I see people struggle with that, right? I see people invest remotely and it's not for them. Like they just can't sleep, every little thing, and I said, maybe, like I said, maybe I'm the outlier, right? A lot of things just roll off my back and they don't bother me. So for me, it's just, it's kind of easy, I think, but it's not for everyone. And I think that's, at the end of the day, you really got to understand yourself, and know maybe how close these properties need to be for you.
What would you say about yourself or your situation that allows you the benefit to be able to let things kind of roll off and not be as massive of a big deal?
I think I just look at it as it's just part of the process, right? I mean, I know. I mean, I think if you go in it realizing that mistakes are part of it and it's gonna happen, it's a lot easier to handle. But it's kind of like the fire service, and maybe the fire service has prepared me well for this, or maybe vice versa. Maybe that's why I'm fine in the firehouse, is where you know situations come up, problems come up, and you just got to figure out a solution, right? And that's what it is, right? Something's going to happen, and at the end of the day, you can either complain about it, you can stress about it, you can whine about it, whatever you want to say, but at the end of the day, you got to make a decision. At the end of the day, you got to figure out a solution, and that's what it comes down to, I think. And I think it's just making decisions, and figuring things out. And yeah. What are you doing? Where are you going? What are you doing? You are muted. What in the world are you doing?
The cleaners are came late to our house, so it's like vacuums everywhere.
Well, you can clean the house. You know that, right?
No, I did not. I did not know that.
Well,
Yeah,
hmm.
yeah.
You didn't hear my great speech just now?
I heard everything except like the last 12 seconds.
Oh, man.
That was
I don't
good.
even,
It
yeah,
was
I don't even
good.
know what I said already. I just basically said, figure it out. Problems happen and you just make a decision, and it could be a wrong decision, but then you just make another decision to try and fix it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of how it works, right? I mean, it is what it is. You move on, and you try to figure it out. And I think the biggest thing is just trying. I think, like, it's the thing in the firehouse is, you come to an incident, you come to a problem, And the biggest thing is, we don't want to leave there and now it's a bigger problem. That's kind of what it is, right? We want to kind of try and mitigate the problem, and you know, then things can get figured out later. But I think that's the thing, right? You got to just be able to make a decision, figure things out, and at the end of the day, don't make a bigger problem. And there Joe goes again. What is going on here? What in the world?
Dog's barking. Jesus Christ.
What? Well, you should be happy you have a dog.
Yes.
See, you got to
See,
think
that's
positive.
the attitude right there. That is the glass half full attitude you have to be in real estate, right? Like, okay, you can focus on the problem, but there's solutions out there, and you got to focus on the solutions.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that. I mean, I don't know if it's something I was. I don't know. I can't say I've always been like that. I'd like to think I have been, but I think that's just one of my things. And maybe honestly, I think it rubs people the wrong way sometimes because I don't care about a lot of stuff, and I think it annoys them.
Well,
Like,
and that's kind of the thing too, is that like running the day-to-day operations of rentals and all that stuff. It's like, you know, my the best use of my time right now is to be focusing on the business that's going to generate more money and more revenue, which puts more buffer, more cushion on everything else. Like if I focus on the problem or spend time on something that I don't have a lot of control over or is not going to have that big of an impact on, it is what it is. But for me personally, my time is better spent to go try to generate revenue,
yeah,
and income, and that's where I spend all my focus. And only
yeah,
a little bit goes to the back end stuff where
yeah.
some others want to spend more time on that, which is fine.
No, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to you. You have to understand, yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. And wanting to handle everything is not I mean, that's just how some people are, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, you have to realize that that's how you are, right? I mean, and and put yourself in a position to succeed. So like I'm saying, if you're someone that has to be hands-on with everything and do the day-to-day type stuff, you know investing remotely or at a distance may not be for you, you know but it really just comes down to you understanding yourself, and I think that's the number one thing. And you know like I said, for me, it's like it is what it is. That's it, so
Okay, so understanding yourself, and then lender, understand kind of where you want to go, how you want to do things yourself, understand yourself, and then what?
well, the lender thing just goes back to getting your finances in order and really understanding, and Michael Zuber likes to talk about it a lot, is discretionary income, right? Like where are you spending your money, right? Like is your paycheck coming in and your paycheck is going out, and you're buying toys and you're spending it on all kinds of, nights out and try. I mean, you want to enjoy, of course you want to, but you also got to set some aside for investing and whatnot. So it's really understanding how much money you are bringing in and where's all your money being spent, right? I think that's, and if you're not bringing in enough money, then you got to figure out some sort of way to increase that, right? I mean, you can only cut back on Starbucks and your expenses so much. So at the end of the day, you might need to figure out a way how to increase your income, right? Whether it's a side hustle, start another business, side business, or even work overtime, right? So, but you got to figure out, how you're going to increase your income possibly. And I think that's super important. And then I think the other thing too that people don't talk about a lot is you kind of, I mean, get out of your comfort zone and be willing to share your journey, even if you don't have a property. Like, you could be just starting the process, but you tell people, yeah, I'm an investor, or I'm, this is what I'm doing, and you're gonna find out how many people want to just sit down and talk with you, or connect with you. And that's how you're going to meet different people. And I think that's where some people struggle, is they're like, oh, I only have one property, I don't, I have nothing to share and all these things. But like I tell people, you have one property, or even if you're just looking for properties, you're like way ahead of the majority of people out there. Because I mean, let's say you look at my fire station, maybe in total, everybody that would be there, for the platoons and whatnot, we have about 30 guys. Besides myself, there might be one other person one or two other people considering investing or looking at properties, right? So it's like, even if you don't have one and you're just in the process of thinking about it or doing it, you're like ahead of most people out there. And like I said, just getting out of your comfort zone and talking about it and just sharing what you're doing. I mean, I think that's super helpful.
So, how would you say that your buy box has changed,
Mm.
or your minimum requirements, or analyzing has changed?
Well, I really think that, you know, I don't know if I would say my buy box has changed from a the type, like, of course I'm always looking for, 3 bedroom, 1 bath at least, stuff like that. But it's those little nuances, like, parking, like the street, like I said, like Alex was saying, oh, that street, it's just not a good street, right? As far as, there's no parking, you're going to come in, there's no place to turn around, you got to reverse out, and tenants are going to get tired of that. So as good as the property might be, chances are you're going to have a lot of headaches and tenant turnover and whatnot. So I think looking at it from a bigger picture, which may sound weird, like, some people are saying, focus on a buy box, focus on, have a buy box. I think for me, it's stepping back a little further and seeing the other things. It's not only just the property. Like I said, the listing could look great. Like I said, these properties look great, right? It fits my buy box, but it's these other things that I probably didn't pay attention to as much as I should have. And that's kind of more what I'm going to focus on is like the parking and even the street a little bit more. And I think and I feel as if, because of like I said, the connections I have now, I think the lower price point properties is what I'm gonna kind of focus on. Not slumlording type of stuff, but just lower price point, greater cash returns. Because I feel like the team that I have in place now is gonna be able to alleviate maybe some of those headaches that you might have buying lower price point things. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. Like, there's certain price ranges that are just way more competitive. Your typical first time home buyer price range, like let's just say in your area, 150, 250, whatever, there's probably less demand for a property that's under 100K. Less people want to have that type of property. And so, like, let's say I get a $10,000 price reduction on a property for 150. That's a 1.5% reduction. Cool, whatever. But like $10,000 price reduction on a $70,000 property, it's a bigger percentage difference. And 10K
Yeah.
is 10K, but like on that percentage, it's a bigger impact. And so if you have the right boots on the ground, get the right property off market, you know, cash flow wise, like it's just interesting how the math works out on some of those lower price deals. Like a
Yeah.
payment, it's 65K payments, probably what, like 600, 650.
What do you mean? The rent?
No, like if you were to buy a property, let's just say for 75K today,
Okay.
put 25% down, your payments probably anywhere from what, 500 to 700, something like that.
Oh, no, less than that.
Less than that. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the property taxes?
So that's another thing. If you can actually get right outside Allegheny County, you're gonna have much lower property taxes. So that's
Okay.
another thing too. But I mean, you can get, you know, of course, insurance has gone up a little bit, but I mean, you could probably, with 25% down, you'd probably be looking at, like, maybe I would think you'd be looking at 400 a month total, everything in, somewhere around there.
Okay. I've got
Yeah.
my mortgage calculator out.
Yeah.
What price should I use?
I don't know, 75K maybe.
Okay. I got 689.
689.
Oh, but I'm doing a 15-year fixed. Sorry.
Oh,
That's why. Shoot.
what rate do you got?
7.5. 550.
Yes. Oh,
550.
yeah.
You're,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So I've got $70 for taxes, $70 for insurance.
Mm,
High or low or what do you think?
that'll be on the high side probably, but
No,
okay.
that's on the high side.
A month you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if it's in your name, the insurance will probably be, yeah, maybe about 50 or 60 in your name.
So yeah, I mean that's a 550 a month payment. Holy crap. And then 900
Yeah.
bucks in rent, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
that's the kind of stuff I mean, I'm looking at and like I said, I had you don't know him, you said, but Cody Davis, he's pretty big with the creative finance stuff. But he was in Hawaii. I had coffee with him, and he was just like, yeah, maybe you should 1031 out of the majority of yours and put them all into a bigger unit, like a multifamily type stuff. And we was looking when I was having coffee with him, and there's some like 29 unit stuff, and which I get it. It does it's very enticing and it does make sense. You have one manager basically. You basically can stockpile all your maintenance stuff. You don't have to, it's all going to be painted, with the same type of paint or replacement materials and whatnot. So things like that. So yeah, I might try to maybe look at maybe five that I have that maybe aren't performing well and try to sell five as a portfolio to someone, put it out there and then 1031 that into something bigger.
So a
So
29 unit, like what kind of price range?
there were like about maybe there was a couple, maybe you're looking at 1 million, 1.5 to like 2 million, 2 point something.
Oh, no shit.
So
Okay.
yeah. So something like that. I mean, but but at the same time too, right? It's like what is your vision, right? Like, what do you want to something like because definitely something like that would be harder to exit out of, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
have so it's just everyone has different strategies, and like I said, there's no one right or wrong way. It's just you gotta whatever you're comfortable with, right? So, and like I said, Alex, the guy in Pittsburgh, he's more the single family home, and so yeah,
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like, let's say you had six properties versus somebody who had 15 property or 13 properties, right? Like making that move and saying, okay, I'm going to take my six properties, I'm going to sell all of them and go to this next thing that's higher. That's a much different move if you're only doing half. So half of your portfolio, and then you got, because if you go all in on one thing and it doesn't work out, you're like just stuck.
yeah. So that's kind of my thought process. I'm just gonna maybe look for the five that's not
Yeah.
maybe performing well or not, maybe not the best performing ones and just see what I could do with that and what I could 1031 into. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. Kind of back talking about the plan or like your trajectory or vision or goal. It's like, talking to somebody that's, starting their journey. It's like, okay, they got good cash, good reserves, good 401k, good job, all this stuff. It's like, okay, how do I want this to look? Okay, but buy the first one, maybe buy a couple at the same time and, you know, get into it, see where things go. And it's like, okay, how do I want things to look in 10 years? Maybe it's five properties that are paid off. If you want 15 properties that are paid off, that's really a different trajectory and a different journey over that time span because how you do things, like I was talking to somebody this week about this. It's like, especially if you're talking about your lower price point properties, it's like, and not to get into the weeds on lending, but like, there's a maximum amount of fees and points that can be tied to a loan to fit into saleability and guidelines. So it's 3 points essentially. And when you have a smaller loan, let's say $50,000, I mean, it's not a very big loan. So you have a lot of fixed costs that go into that same loan. And so like you're talking about investment property pricing, there's points that are going to be involved because the pricing is just not there. So it's like to get to the best pricing, you got to have 25% down, right, on a 30-year fixed. If you want to be able to do 20% down on a 30-year fixed, it's just not possible because from a APR standpoint, you're above the thresholds. Now, if you do a 20% down and a 15-year fix, it's closer within reason. So then the trade-off becomes, okay, well, do you cash flow less because you're doing a 15-year fixed, put less money down because you're now doing 20% down, and then what does that look like in terms of trajectory? Less cash flow, more money in your pocket to potentially be able to buy the next one and the next one, the next one. I mean, again, you're
Yeah.
talking about 75K, a difference of 5% is not, a world builder, but like the strategies do stack up. We start scaling over a period of time. So like, okay, do you want properties 15 paid off? Or, I mean, that's the stuff that kind of is interesting when you start doing the math and trajectory on, because these little things matter. Maybe not so much on the first one, but if you've got 15 over 15 years,
Yeah.
it matters.
But the thing is, you got to get the first one. So that's to me is you just got
Yes.
to do something, right? And you got to get
Yeah.
started. And then, like I said, it's constantly changing. Everyone's kind of vision maybe changes a little bit, and where they're at in life, or as things go. They, like I said, I've come across someone in Pittsburgh that I feel is going to take me to this next level, and you know, that happens for everyone possibly. So but you can't do anything if you don't have the first one. And
Mm-hmm.
I would probably I would put money on it that 99% of the people, their first one was either they lost money or was just a vanilla base hit, kind of got them started,
Yep.
and I would put money that majority, or 99% of people didn't hit a home run in their first deal, and I think that's just how
Yeah.
it is. But you learn, and like you're saying, you kind of layer it on top of each other, and but if you don't do that first one, you don't have a starting point, and you're just sitting there constantly analyzing properties and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you know
Uh,
yeah. But
yeah. When you say that waiting, it just hits me because I've got probably 10 people that I've known for a long time. And I'm talking about people that said I wanted to buy something in 2019, 2020. And this is also primary and also investment side. So like both of these lanes. Like I have somebody that wanted to buy a primary residence in 2020. And then we talked in 21 and then talked in 22. And they never pulled the trigger. Now we're talking about it again in 2024. And it's like, if you would have just pulled the trigger in 2020, things would be a lot. You could have been on your third property by now in terms of just buying
oh yeah,
primaries, but it's just analysis paralysis. And again, everybody's
yeah,
different.
no,
It's just
yeah.
interesting.
But I think that's what it comes down to, and I think that's why I like sharing more of my mistakes and the journey, is because no one ever feels good buying that first property, whether it's an investment, whether it's a primary residence. No one ever feels like, oh man, this is the greatest decision I ever made. I mean, they're constantly like second guessing themselves. They're constantly like, oh, did I do the right thing? It's a lot of money, and but it's most people you talk to, you look at it 10 years down the road, they'll be like, I'm glad I did it, right? Whether even if it's just a primary home, like you said. I mean, you know like I said, I don't think it's sometimes the best decision, but 10 years from now, it's going to still be a decision that was probably beneficial to you, right? So at the end of the day, it's just getting started, and realizing that it's never comfortable. I don't know if it ever gets comfortable. I mean, even people that's probably bought thousands of properties, their next one is probably still, they're not comfortable about it. There's still something that they're concerned with. But it just gets easier and easier to weather those mistakes. Like I said, Alex, he that deal you said he lost 80K on, but where he's at now, it's like, just like, okay, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move on to the next one, right? You lost, but in the beginning, yeah, it's a lot more stressful and painful, but that's probably why you don't do those things right off the bat, right? You got to get your feet wet and
Yeah.
get your systems in place, and but
Yeah. You mentioned the 10-year number. And on your channel and on some of the lives we've done, we've kind of talked about that 5 year, 5 years of struggle pains, whatever to
oh yeah,
things stabilize and get going and stacking. But like that 10-year number, Tina Call is a
yeah,
big realtor in North Carolina,
mm-hmm.
EXP. She said, the investors that I know that held for 10 years, there's not one of them that I know that ever told me they regretted it after they've been in the game for like the 10-year markers where like nobody's ever told us they've ever regretted it. And it's like 10 years is a long time to be thinking, especially if you're at the very beginning of your journey. But like if you can have that perspective, yeah, that's the key is being able to weather the storm and just keep stacking.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just kind of trying to be in it long enough, weather it, learn. Can you imagine Jordan or Kobe, playing at their prime with the knowledge they had at the end of their career, right? And it's just kind of figuring out how to get that to overlap. But you got to get started, right? You're not going to learn anything by not getting into the fire and doing it. So I think just getting started, right? And you just start learning and you get the experience, you get more confident and yeah. But like I said, same thing. It's just knowing yourself, figuring out what avenue, what lane you want to go into. Like I said, I mean, people are making it work with short-term rentals. People are making it work with multifamily. People are
Yeah.
doing it. But you just got to find what works for you, and you're never really gonna know until you actually do something, right? And I think
I
that's the
mean,
big thing.
that's so true. Like I know me personally, like I know that sometimes I analysis paralysis or I just
Who
don't do
you?
some yeah, or like I know I want to do that and you procrastinate and you just don't do it because of whatever reason. And so like along my journey, it's like, okay, you know what? I know that I'm going to just, probably take too long to do this thing that I know I need to be doing. So what I know that I'm gonna just jump all in and that kind of that lazy mindset. Sometimes I just put myself in situations I probably shouldn't have, but I just go do
Well,
stuff and figure it out.
I was gonna say what Sierra would say. She's probably gonna say that you're doing too much stuff.
Oh well, right now,
Oh yeah,
certainly am
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
But this wasn't always the case.
yeah. Well, this was fun. A lot of I got to figure out how to edit this. A lot of stuff to edit. We got to make them shorter, not shorter, but we got to stick to the. We got to make them so I can just like stop it. Stop. We have like 3 episodes,
Oh
but
yeah. This is all. Anyway,
kind of
you
yeah.
do your thing.
No, we got next time we gotta. I like it. It's just we gotta make it so that we can just stop it here. Boom. That's one episode. Stop it.
We
But
kind of were talking about the same thing for ever.
yeah, I guess. Well, that's why, guys. Yeah. Well, we'll do our. Well, I don't know. I got to figure out.
I
I don't know if
mean,
I can do a live.
this is my topic. So now the next two are your topics. It's on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see. I don't know. Got to figure out another day. I can't do live on Wednesday, I think. Yeah. Not for the next few weeks. That's when I'm on
See
duty.
if Sierra can do later because the 8 o'clock time is tough for me.
Later than 8 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, I'm dealing with the kids at 8 o'clock. Right at 8 o'clock is I'm dealing with the kids.
Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, we go so long. Maybe we can just,
Yeah, that's fine. That's right. I can just always just hop
no,
in.
we can bother them for a little while and then do our own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
For sure,
All
man.
right, man. Thanks, man. Thanks for showing up on time and having a topic for once.
Yes, that's how we roll. 2024, baby.
Yeah. So, like I said, man, I have a pre-written. I'm gonna have a pre-written letter for my friend, like just a low. Joel's never on time. He talks about nonsense,
And he's a
and
Warriors
yeah,
fan.
yeah. Did I tell him that? I don't think I told him that.
No.
Yeah, but see, then you'll just look good every time they talk to you. All right, man. Thanks, man. We'll do it next week.
All right. See ya.
Okay. All right. Bye.